Hey, what's going on, guys? It's really hard to see if I'm live or not, but looks like I'm live. So hard to tell if I even got sound. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Okay, I got sound. All right, all right. So we got an opening of the market already. Sorry I didn't do a video. What is it? Thursday. Here we're going to do a weekly review. Looks like we opened on the downside on the dollar. And we opened down on the gold and silver market too. So I don't even know what's going on. Let's look at the daily, see how we opened. So total rejection here. Nice hammer into resistance, got rejected. That's the Sunday opening. So far closing below previous lows. Coming down into the last lines of support before it goes off into no man's land on the weekly chart. So right now we're hanging 10 on previous high range here. So you can see that line of support on this range. Definitely below previous highs. So we don't have support anymore. It's got to get back above these previous highs to get support back on the dollar. And as we have been talking about, we have a head and shoulders top here on a long-term chart. So let's see what happens. See if it'll turn on the support line. And again, the opening today is pretty drastic on the downside. Already down $1. 1% down on the open. S&P. Looks like it's got support on the 8 and the 13. Looks like across the 8 and 13 came back into support and bounced on Friday. We do have a reverse head and shoulders. The only thing is this is at a top. The reverse head and shoulders is supposed to be at the bottom. So look for this thing to crack above. It could go if it breaks out, it could go another leg up. Otherwise, watch for the pattern to fail. And when patterns fail, gets pretty volatile. So watch for the downside, previous low breaks. For the week, pretty steep. Not a lot of support holding it up. But again, that reverse head and shoulders on the daily is a bullish pattern. But the only thing is it's at the top of the pattern, not the bottom. So watch for that pattern to fail. Previous low breaks on the weekly chart could come into previous highs all the way down. So watch for that. Weekly close on the Dow as well. Same thing. It's just holding up by a thread. See how we closed. Looks like we came into resistance on the Dow and got rejected. Still just holding on by a thread on previous lines of, or previous high line, trend line there. So broke down, made a double bottom, hit resistance, backed off, and now we got an AB bottom. So reverse head and shoulders, AB bottom on the right shoulder. Look for previous high breaks. It could just take another leg up. I don't see that possible, but things been running up 8 years straight. So what do you expect? What's another leg? NASDAQ. Looks like we can put in a lower high. Looks like we got a left shoulder here ahead. Let's see the right shoulder come back into support. See if this has a reverse head and shoulders at the top as well. Pretty ridiculous, but that's what's going on. Look how steep that line is. There's absolutely no support hanging that thing up there like that. It's got to go sideways for 6 months before that equals out. Maybe not 6 months, but it's just silly. Watch for previous low breaks as support, previous high supports coming in at 49, 47. But it looks like right now it wants to take another leg. As it comes back into support first, put in that right shoulder, and then we'll have a left shoulder, right shoulder scenario. Watch for previous low breaks as things might turn over real rapidly. As I said, there's nothing holding this thing up. Pretty nice bullish outside candle. 2-bar pattern on the weekly close. So look for it to come into support, bounce in between here, bam, bam. Is that a top pattern descending triangle at the top? I think so, but just straight up. It's got to go sideways to consolidate. It's got to do something to consolidate. And the best way to consolidate is to come back into support. But it's hanging on a thread still. The VIX, watch the VIX take off tomorrow morning. Came all the way back into support on Friday. Consolidated. Look for a turn. Get above previous highs. Take another leg up on the VIX. Let's watch that. Crude. Looks like that right shoulder is still coming in. Friday's close is pretty drastic. We call this the left shoulder, this whole consolidation, head, right shoulder. Just a different way of looking at it. Looks like a rejection on the weekly close. It's gathering its legs, see if support holds. Otherwise, this thing's coming down. Long term, we got a reverse head and shoulders that broke out, coming back into support now. That's a very bearish candle on the weekly. Closing near its lows on Friday. Let's take a look at the monthly, see how that's working out for us. Looks like the reverse head and shoulders on a monthly can come back quite a bit more. So it looks like it wants to. Got previous low support over here. Previous low support over here, plus previous highs. Looks like it wants to come back in. Still holding that 8 on the monthly. Watch for that turning over. It's just the right shoulder. The right shoulder on the reverse head and shoulders, they always bring that back as far as possible. So look for this to come back a little bit more. Watch for patterns to fail. I mean, crude is not just a, crude isn't a good market anymore. All the drillers losing money. It's a huge reverse head and shoulders though. So it is a bottom pattern on the long-term charts. We'll just have to see where that right shoulder comes in. Could come all the way back in. Looks bearish to me. I just don't know where it's going to turn. It's holding support now, but watch that thing to take a measured move across the 34 on the weekly chart. The right shoulder is always pulled back as far as you can for that slingshot effect. Let's go to crude. Crude weekly close. Looks like it closed below our trend line again. So now we got to change the opposing point. This is going to come back in for some kind of opposing point. Where is it going to come in? I don't know. Previous highs, broke this previous high. It's going in the range. I got previous high here, here, and a previous low, previous high at 29. So it looks like, let's see if it'll hold 30. I got a previous low, previous high here. Let's draw that out. Let's let it come back into 30. There's our support for the pattern. Bearish retracement back into resistance on the weekly. It got rejected. Look for previous low breaks back into support as we do a measured move across the 34. Looks like that move's already coming in. Looks like Shanghai Exchange came off support on Friday. Look for the bearish retracement back into resistance as this has to make a pattern now below. The bearish retracement back into resistance. Watch that as it needs to consolidate below the 34, gather its legs. I got a bottom here. Look for it to come up into resistance, back into support. Make the kicker is making a lower high, a higher low off the opposing point, and then build from there. Build a pattern. Let it come back into resistance. Come back into the pattern. We don't have a pattern yet. We need an opposing point first. But watch for a pattern to form on Shanghai daily. And it looks like it came into support just like clockwork on the 34 on the weekly. Patterns within patterns. 10-year bouncing off of the weekly 34. So we got support. We hit support daily. Bunch of bearish retracement, bearish retracement, bearish retracement. Support's got to hold. I got a bullish piercing pattern here into resistance. It's got to make a higher low. Start basing, come across the 8 into the 13, back into the 8, and could start building again. But the leg, the measured move, across the 34. Is in. So watch for a consolidation. Watch for a bearish retracement into the 13 or even into the 34, making a pattern, using our 34 as the resistance. Measure moves across the 34 is not precise, but it's pretty, that 34 is pretty much the center of that wave. So here we go, crossing the 34, had a bearish retracement there, bearish retracement there, bearish retracement there, higher low in, coming across the 8, back into the 8. Now we're crossing the 13. Looks like a little bottom on the Nikkei. Watch it come into the 34 next, even making a nice opposing point after it reaches its natural point of return. Maybe come back, hold the 8 again, then we'll have a nice little pattern forming. But it looks like it's coming off a bottom. Off the 8 into the 13, back into the 8 right here. That's the inverted hammer I always tell you about across support on those bottoms. That inverted hammer across the 8, across, and then back into. Here we had a rejection. Then we had a bullish punch across the 8, back into support, making this nice little inverted hammer. Take that inverted hammer out on the top side, take a ride. Now look, we have support on the 13 on the daily. Let's see how we did on the weekly. There's a nice Bullish piercing pattern. That is textbook right there. Closing above 50% of the previous candle. As it opens down, closes all the way back in. Precisely 50%, I don't know. That's good enough for me right there. At least previous lows were broken. So it closed above previous lows. Has support on those previous lows now. Nice bullish piercing pattern on the Nikkei weekly. That's textbook right there. Opened down, closed all the way in. It's a nice 2-bar pattern for the bottom off of support. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Watch for this to keep on rising for next week. Looks like we've got a little spinning top on the weekly close for steel. Nothing more to say about that. Spinning tops are continuation patterns, so look for a rejection here. Looks like we got a left shoulder head. Get that right shoulder coming up into its natural course of return, whether it's the 13 or the 34, and then get that opposing point for the right shoulder. Looks like we got a left shoulder head, 2-bar pattern, or price pattern forming. We got A, B bottom. Those A, B bottoms are the start of the reverse head and shoulders. And you can see the left shoulder come in, the head, let this come up into previous lows, come back in for the right shoulder. Whether that's at the 13 or the 34 or above the 34, I don't know yet. Watch for any kind of rejections going on. This can also get rejected by the 8. It's not above the 8 yet. It's getting rejected on the left shoulder over here. So let's get back into this range here. Pump it up. Put in that right shoulder for a nice opposing point. Make a nice reverse head and shoulders on the daily chart. And for the weekly, nothing to report. No 2-bar pattern yet. But it did hold previous highs. So see how that works out for us next week. Gold looks like we opened down. Looks like another retracement week. It's a never-ending story, it seems. We got previous highs at 1260, same as ever. Looks like we came down into support and bounced so far. Let's get a turn in this. Let's see how we're doing on this shorter term. Oh, look at that gap down. That's horrible. Horrible. Looks like we've got retracements coming in all week. As if last week wasn't a good enough retracement, we're gonna have to go through another week, it looks like. Whenever we get a breakdown and have to build that pattern below the 34, whatever the pattern is, it could take all week. Weekly close. Looks like the weekly close last week was just a little spinning top. So let's get all this crap out of there. Look for previous highs as support. Look for this previous low as support. Look for the 8 for support all the way into the 34. Hopefully we'll bounce right off the previous highs. That's what I'm looking for, because we do have a nice little flat top break. It's coming into previous highs as a bullish retracement. So is it just a gap down into previous highs for support? Gather its legs and try again. That's what it appears to be on a weekly chart. But that being said, it might take all week to get this accomplished, as we need to consolidate, need to make some kind of a price pattern, reverse head and shoulders. We need to fill the gap first. Let's see if we can fill the gap. This looks nasty. But long term, we're still in it to win it. Still above previous highs. Let's get a bounce off of here. Get this range from 13 to 1260, a $40 range. See if we can pump it right here. Whenever they take it down like this, it takes forever for it to recover. So I'm expecting right now all week to get this thing pumping, make another pattern over support, Let's make sure we hold support first, previous highs. Use the previous highs as your support all the way in. Silver weekly coming back into support still. I got a 2-bar pattern here. Closing below the weekly 34 or 8, still above. Yeah, this just looks like a controlled selling. Someone sitting, a big contract holder, sitting on the bid, just dragging it down, knocking out all the longs. That's a controlled selling into support. Let's see if we can get a turn here. Once they get off the bid, they're going to churn on the ask and just carry it on up. Pretty drastic downside on the hourly. Daily's holding the 34. Let's not churn over that 34. Weekly, we got 34 to come all the way back in. We got plenty of room to come all the way back in. Looks like 17.25 all the way to 17. And the monthly. Isn't that nice? Nice turn over here. The inverted hammer right here over support. Boom, 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 boom. Watch for previous high breaks. That's all we're waiting for. It's just doing another consolidation. Monthly chart breakout on this is going to be awesome. Just takes forever because it's a monthly chart. Copper. So just another week of consolidation, I guess. See what happens. Maybe we can get a nice, maybe that's the volatility move that came all the way into support and it's going to turn around for us on gold and silver. Reverse head and shoulders on the monthly for copper. I'm making that right shoulder now. It looks like it's bouncing into resistance now on daily. Looks like a nice reverse head and shoulders AB bottom forming. There's that AB bottom. AB, that's for the left shoulder head. Let's get this thing up, make a right shoulder this week. Certainly has enough room to come all the way back into support, but it looks like it's turning. Copper's got some bounce in it, but let's see if that bounce will continue or get rejected. It is coming into previous lows right now. See if that turns for us. GDX. I tell you what, it doesn't look good for the miners next week. If these gold and silver gap down 1% already. Just stupid. What a nice, just a very nice cup and handle. Huge reversal, reverse head and shoulders, broke out, came back into support, made a cup and handle, and now that's, looks like it's going to come back into support some more. And it looks like GDX having even a worse time, already breaking down on that cup and handle. Nugget still hanging 10, and JNUG breaking down as well. Just nasty. Looks like we're going to be waiting another week. Bitcoin. Bitcoin's on fire. Broke 12. It's working to get through that previous high, the all-time high. Nice hammer off support right now. got to take that hammer out or it's going to turn it into a hanging man. And you can see long-term chart closing above previous highs, looks bullish from here. Looks like we're going to take out the all-time highs on Bitcoin. Oh my goodness. Let's look at AG just to cut it out. Here's the reverse head and shoulders, and then came back into support one more time just to test that right shoulder all the way far back. Came across the 34 back into support. That's a 2-bar bullish pattern. Over the 34, back into support. Watch this to turn onto the upside. But support's got to hold. If support doesn't hold, that could just turn into a huge bearish retracement as it comes down into resistance and gets rejected. So watch that, especially with gold and silver just having a heyday on Sunday night without anybody watching. Looks like we're getting a little bounce. Let's review on gold and silver one more time. Look for weekly chart gold to hold previous highs. And look for silver to come back into support as it wants to come back in. And I'm just going to cut it short there. Let's see how the dollar is doing real quick. Dollar's still coming back in. Watch for the dollar to come back. I'm not sure what's going to happen if the dollar breaks down. Not sure at all. It needs to come down though. Anyways, I appreciate you guys, and let me know what's going out there. We got a lot of stuff going on, so apologize for not going in on Thursday for the video, but gonna keep it going. I'll see you guys and appreciate all of you.